Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Sunday Gita class with some Gita Dhyanam mantras. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritvarshine Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Amb Tvam Anusandhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshine Namo Astute Vyas Vishal Buddhe Pul Arvind आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः परपान्न पारिजाताये तोत्र वेत्र एकपाने ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाये गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्रावती कृपेन वाणी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सो तीर्णा खलु पांडवै नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थ गंधोटकम नाना ज्ञान केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपद रह रह पेपिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसे न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत् कृपातमहं वंदे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यस्तवे वेदे सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिना यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुरगणा देवाय तस्मै. Chapter 16, Dev Asura Sampat Vibhaga Yoga. We just started this chapter last week, and I was telling you that Lord Krishna is describing two kinds of nature among the human beings, the saintly and the demonic. The saintly nature develops by following the instructions of the scriptures, cultivating the mode of goodness, satvikta, and purifying the mind through spiritual practices. Okay, so it's not that God just did some kind of a favor to certain people. It is through their effort they became that. Because only the saintly nature leads to self-realization or God realization. If we don't have those qualities, we cannot claim that we are there. And in contrast, there are also demonic natured people. And those personalities are associated with the modes of passion, ignorance, and embracing the materialistic view. That's what we'll see Lord Krishna is explaining in detail in this chapter to us. So he starts out with the saintly nature, the divine nature, the Devata's characteristics. And we started with the first verse, but we were in the middle of that verse. So let me just recite this verse again. Abhyam sattva samshuddhi jnana yog vivastiti Danam damacha yagyacha swadhyaya tapaha arjuvam. Fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in the yoga of knowledge, charity, that means giving, control of the senses, sacrifice, study of the scriptures, austerity, and straightforwardness. These are some of the qualities which are called divine qualities. So we were discussing fearlessness. And I was telling you that where there's a knowledge, there's a fearlessness. We can see that even in the worldly sphere also. Light of knowledge gets rid of the fear in our mind. Then purity of heart. Gita preaches this again and again. purity of heart. That means we got to learn how to control our inner recesses. This is a virtue. Our motives should be pure, our intention should be pure. There has to be honesty in our personality. There has to be harmony between our words and our thoughts and our actions. That's purity. Then we talked about steadfastness and devotion to knowledge. That means this devotion really means love for knowledge, Jnana Yoga. This is the positive way to persuade the mind to leave all its low temptations. Love for the higher knowledge. Because ultimately, where does the knowledge take us? Towards God. So love for that. Then next we talked about charity, restraint of the senses, and sacrifice. They are all connected. If charity develops in our capacity to detach ourselves from the wealth, only then we can just come out and share it with others. But then alongside, we got to have a control of our sense organs also. That's a dhamma. And only then we can apply ourselves with the same spirit of sacrifice in our personal life. Yajna. So without dhamma and dhan, that means without control of the senses or understanding what this charity is, we cannot walk on this path of purity. It will be just a dream. So these are very initial qualities we need to cultivate. And the divine people, the people who have the nature of divinity, they have these qualities. So sacrifice, yajna, that is the next one. Yajna has prayers also, puja also. And in order to do the prayers and the puja, we got to control our senses too. Without controlling our sense organs, it's very impossible to control our mind. Because in yajna, the mind has to be at the feet of God. So in the absence of dhan or a dhamma, the sense control, you really cannot do the yajna. That's why in a regular yajna also, the yajna which we do like a havan yajna, the fire yajna, we are putting some material in there. There's a samagri, there's a ghee, there's a wood, then there's a prasad, then there's a time, then you invite people, then you feed them also, then you give the charity also. All of this, that is associated with it. So that's why this is dhamma, because as long as you are sitting and you are doing the yajna, you are controlling your body. You are controlling your mouth. You are only saying the mantras. And if you have evolved a little, you are controlling your mind also, absorbing your mind into the thoughts of God. So you can see that the dhan and the dhamma are very much part of the yajna, the sacrifice. In the absence of both dhan and dham, the spiritual experience of the self, the recognition of the divine within us is impossible. We are just doing it only for the name's sake, not in reality. Then he talks about another quality is swadhyaya, study of the scriptures. Study of scriptural literature daily in measured qualities will definitely provide the necessary inspiration to live a divine life. Okay, that means some part of our daily life should be devoted to study the scriptures. The study of the scripture should not be merely an intellectual appreciation or just memorization of the mantras. But a sadhak will study the scriptures and then at the same time will observe and analyze and see whether the truth which he is learning from the scriptures is being applied in life or not. Scriptures say, tell the truth. Do we tell the truth? Scriptures talk about Vairagya. Are we bringing more and more Vairagya in our life or not? Scriptures say, do some charity work, help others, do some seva. Do we do seva? So that is a swadhyaya. When the intellect is illumined with the proper knowledge, our actions naturally become sublime. So that's why a daily dose of wealth of knowledge from the scriptures. Regular studies coupled with the regular practice of yajna would give us the courage to live in self-controlled environment. Our body will be in our control, our mind will be in our control. Only then we can have a steadiness in our meditation and reach towards the samadhi. Then the next quality of divine people in this verse, he talks about tapa, austerity. Austerity is not a punishment. Austerity is the voluntary acceptance of hardship for purifying the body, purifying the mind, and purifying the intellect. That is austerity. All conscious self-denials at the body level will reduce our indulgence in the world outside. That's how we'll have more and more energy within ourselves and apply that newfound energy for the purpose of self-development. That's called tapa. Instead of wasting time going outside, sitting home, studying, working on yourself, that's austerity. Living a simple life is austerity. So we got to start somewhere. So that's why this tapa is very important. That's how the personality shines, with this tapa, giving a little heat to yourself. Literal meaning of tapa means heating yourself. That's what heat is. I'm going to fast once a week. It's not a torture, it's a control. I'm not going to talk for 5 hours in the morning. That is a tapa, Mauna Vrata. For next month, I will not buy anything for myself. The money which I save, I will give it to some poor people, some charitable organization. That's tapa. So you can decide your tapa. You will see that if you do it with the right attitude, there's a definitely conservation of the energy. That energy you can use in your spiritual growth. So tapa. Remember, it's not a self-torture, it's a self-discipline. Then the last one he says in this verse, arjavam, uprightness. So that means no crookedness in our thoughts, emotions, or our general conduct, which is self-destructive towards our personality. Okay. Uprightness is also called straightforwardness. Our intentions, our motives, our convictions, our aspirations, our realizations, our discriminations, no crookedness in them. Clarity there, straightforwardness in there. When we talk to people, be straightforward. No ulterior motive. So in this verse, this is the opening verse of this chapter. He is enumerating some of the qualities of those divinely good people. And there is a definite sense of a scientific connection between each of them. So if you have one quality, you will see that it's easier to cultivate the other quality. They are all connected. Or you can call them ethical values or the moral beauty. That's what's described in these qualities. We would love to be in the company of a person who has these qualities. So that's why we need to cultivate these qualities. And all these qualities are built on the very firm foundation of reason and experience. It is definitely a preparation for a fuller unfoldment of the divine contents in us. Or you can even say these are the prerequisites to attain samadhi or to become one with God. Prerequisites. Just like when we had to go to college, we had to finish high school. Before we could enter high school, we had to finish middle school. Or any higher studies we had to do, they made sure we had the prerequisites. Just like if somebody went to medical school, pre-med is important. In order to go to a calculus class, you better have taken some algebra and trigonometry. Otherwise, calculus will not make any sense. So that's what it is. This is a prerequisite to become one with God. That's why these are called divine qualities. By having these qualities, you have not become one with God yet. These are prerequisites. Then he says in the next verse, ahimsa satyam akrodha tyagaha shanti apashanam daya bhuteshu alolutvam mardvam hi achapalam. Ahimsa, harmlessness. Satyam, truth. Akrodha, absence of anger. Tyagaha, renunciation. Shanti, peacefulness. Apashanam, absence of crookedness. Pashuta, animal nature. Daya, compassion. Bhuteshu, beings. Alolutvam, non-greed. Mardvam, gentleness. He means modesty. Achapalam, absence of fickleness. So some more qualities. See, altogether he has mentioned in these verses 26 qualities. Okay, if you add them all up. So harmlessness, truth, absence of anger, renunciation, peacefulness, absence of crookedness, compassion to beings, non-greed, gentleness, modesty, absence of fickleness. These are the godly qualities, more godly qualities. So let's look at them, each one of them. You're all familiar with ahimsa, harmlessness. Sure, at the physical level, we should not harm anyone, but also at the mental and the verbal level too. Perfect physical ahimsa is simply impossible. We all know that. People will say we are not killing animals to eat, but definitely we are harming a lot of other things too. It could be the plants. It could be when we are walking outside, we are harming. What do we do then? Do we stop living, stop walking, stop eating? No. No. Start giving back also. Try to harm the least. If our motives are pure and clean, the harm so brought about is not regarding as causing injury. Okay, so motive should be clean. Wherever you can reduce the harm, definitely reduce the harm. So keep that clear in mind. If we harm less and less, we will see more and more purity inside us. Okay. This mouth of ours should not utter the words which will harm somebody, cause a pain to somebody. The thoughts we can keep very harmless. Okay. And be very conscious what you eat, who's getting hurt by it. Pay attention. Go into these subtler layers of your life. Okay. Then truth. This truth or the satyam is same as in uprightness, the arjvam in the previous verse. Okay. It's like a connected with that. Speak truthfully. The way, what you say, what you do, what you speak in harmony. Truthfulness. Akrodha. That means absence of anger. Why do we get angry? Anger arises out of an insufferable impatience with others. We think that others are not listening to us. We got to just remember that others also have their own opinion. Start looking from their angle also here and there, because two people who are living together, normally they get angry at each other more. We never get angry at the stranger if there's no conflict. So try to understand the other person also. Their point of view from their angle is right. I always remember that number 6, from one side it looks 6, the other side it looks 9. Same number. If two people start fighting over it, start getting angry at it, we'll call them not so wise. So that's what we got to remember. Okay. Then Tyag, the spirit of renunciation. Without respect to truth, we cannot live in the spirit of ahimsa. So without the spirit of renunciation, we cannot have a even temper. That's how closely they are related. Tyag, renunciation. So this tyag also means that your personal views, sticking to them so much, we just start fighting. Tyag, let it go. It's not worth it. Only then there will be a Ashanti. That is the next one he talk about, quietude. Because if a seeker is capable of living conscious of truth, harming nobody, keeping an even temper, in a spirit of renunciation, in spite of all disturbing environment, that person can experience peace only then. That's how they are all connected. Otherwise, this peace is just a word for us. So that means we got to have these qualities which he mentioned before. Even in the middle of the stormy life and courageous circumstances, this kind of an individual can successfully keep the inward peace. And also the intellectual voice. That is a Shanti, quietude. The next quality in these divine beings, apassionam. Apassionam actually means unmalicious tongue. The ugliness or beauty of the tongue is ordered by the personality behind it. A seeker, excuse me, who is trying to reach a fuller life, a divine life, will have this inner harmony at that level, that his speech will definitely echo the fragrance of his soul. And soul is nothing but God, and which has all the good qualities. So speech will be like a loving speech, truthful speech. Speech will not harm anybody. That speech will have a softness of tone, and even the clarity of the expression. Definitely there will be honesty in that speech. That speech will bring a clear picture in the listener's mind. No ulterior motive. Because it is flowing with the sincerity, devotion, love. All of that. That is called apassionam. We got to develop a habit of that kind of a speech. All these qualities do take effort, and that's what sadhana is. That's why I said that these qualities are not just given by God to some people. They have worked on it. We got to live a life of perfect discipline to become divine. Then next he says, Daya. Tenderness towards being. Daya. There will be imperfection around always. Somebody, no matter how good you are, somebody might be mean to you. They might say something wrong. They might do something wrong. But Devata is recognizing in and through those imperfections the infinite reality, even in those people. And that's how that tenderness towards those beings is shown by a divine being. Daya. Daya is also like a love for all. Love alone can discover infinite amount of tenderness in us. Love. Our children we love, grandchildren we love. Aren't we tender towards them? And a divine being, or a being with the divine qualities, has this tenderness towards everybody. The next quality he talks about is freedom from greed. An average person has got an endless thirst or hunger for some indulgences. This hunger never gets satisfied for the material things. To remain in self-control without endless sense hunger is what is meant by the term alolutvam. Okay, all the objects, not just a few objects here or there, is non-greed for anything. Anything to have, anywhere to go, any kind of a relationship, any kind of a food, any kind of a bank balance, all those things. No lalach. No lalach at all. The next one he says, mardvam and gentleness and modesty. These two qualities are best seen in a person who has established himself in all the above qualities we are talking about. Only then you reach there. Otherwise, you can call yourself a gentle person or a modest person. Unless you have rest of the qualities, you are not there yet. Our conduct shows this, how gentle we are, how modest we are. So these two qualities, he has just separately said at this point. Then last one in this verse, he says, absence of a fickleness, a chapalam. Fickleness means restlessness. Restlessness of mind and unsteadiness of character, they definitely are reflected in our physical movements also, in our decision making also. Because body shadows the conditions of the mind. A constant restlessness, a sudden outburst of activity, or even a modest shaking of the body, or tossing of our limbs. See, children do that, but if adults do it, that means the mind is very restless. If we notice that in ourselves, that means we have not cultivated a steady character or purposeful personality. Even speaking too much unnecessarily, that's also out of this chapalam. So unnecessarily exhausting the muscles with indecisive movements, unnecessarily keep on thinking, keep on exerting your mind, those are the signs of weaknesses in a personality. Okay. Then in the next verse, he finishes up the qualities of a divine being. Tejaha kshama dhriti shacham adroha na atimanita bhavanti sampadam devim abhijatasya bharat. Teja, vigor, the brilliant glow, that's a tej, radiance. Dhriti, kshama, kshama means forgiveness. Dhriti, fortitude. Shacham, purity. Adroha, absence of hatred. No means not, atimanita, over pride. So not over pride. Bhavanti means belong, sampadam, the qualities or the estate or the wealth, devim, divine, abhijatasya, of the born, Bharat, that is Arjun, because Lord Krishna is talking to Arjun. Vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, absence of hatred, absence of pride, these belong to the one born for the divine estate, divine wealth, O Bharat. So let's look at each one of them too, because we are here to learn so that we can cultivate these qualities, not just to memorize them, but we want to cultivate these qualities. So Tej. Tej is a glow of spirituality. It's not just a painted glow. This is really a brilliance of our intellect. It is a twinkling joy in our eyes. Or it's like a fragrance of the peace which we carry with us no matter where we go. Serene poise of our activities. Or even a love for all. Light of joy which really shines, which we see in our Guru, but we need to cultivate that too. Guru of every tradition, we see this radiance. And the radiance came from these qualities. That's why irresistibly we are attracted to these kind of personalities. Personality of a sage. This is a personality of a sage. They have abundance energy. And with that energy, they want to serve all. And that's how they feel the fulfillment from that service. That's called Tej. Tej. See, just like we see the tej in the sun. Tej from the sun gives us life here. We wouldn't be living on this earth unless the sun was shining. It was shining. If it didn't shine, no life. We see that if there's a thick clouds for a few days, what happens to the mood of the average person? So this tej, the same kind of a tej, comes from a divine being or a saintly being or a yogi. But it is because of those qualities which I just mentioned. The next one, he says, kshama, forgiveness. It is not merely a capacity to patiently live through some minor physical or mental inconveniences, or when we get insulted or injured by others. It is definitely a very subtle boldness that is shown in a personality. Staying serene, unruffled, even in the face of the most powerful opposition. That is kshama. Somebody can provoke you, still you forgive them. Somebody can hurt you, still you forgive. That is a divine quality, kshama, forgiveness. Fortitude, dhriti. When a person daringly meets life, he cannot expect all the time happy situations or the favorable circumstances or the conducive arrangement of chances. He needs to stick to his gun even at the difficult times too. That's called dhriti. We got to just get in touch with that secret energy inside us. And that secret energy we need to nourish and nurture so that we don't feel exhausted. And this sacred energy, when it wells up in our own well-integrated personality, is called fortitude. So we all have that, but we got to get in touch with it. The strength of faith, the conviction of the goal, and the consistency of the purpose, and a vivid perception of the ideal, and a bold spirit of sacrifice. We got to cultivate diligently. Then we'll see that the source for all of these is called dhriti. Dhriti, fortitude. Never feel despair. Never even utter the word that you are fatigued or exhausted. Okay? Because what happens, this energy just trickles down then. We got to just make sure that we use this properly. Next is the shaucham, purity. So purity of thoughts, motives, purity of environment, cleanliness of habits, and personal belongings. Purity. Shaucham. Adrohanan, hatred. So not only absence of hatred, but absence of even a vague desire to injure any living creature. That is non-hatred, adroha. Just like a person will never have even in his dream any idea of injuring himself, right? We'll never do that. So the recognition of oneness with others, we can never injure anybody else. Cultivate that habit that we are all one, all living creatures. The last one, he says, even though you cultivate all these qualities, make sure you keep a check on the atimanita. Na ati manita, he says, absence of overpride. Self-praise, boastfulness, they stem from pride. Saintly personalities feel gratitude to God for the good qualities they possess. We always say, with God's help, with God's grace, with Guru's grace, we could walk on this path. So, atimanita. So, to leave off our exaggerated notions of self-honor is to immediately relieve ourselves from thousands avoidable excitements and responsibilities, actually. That's where all that burden we put on our mind just melts away. Life is as light as a feather then. But only to a person who has renounced this over-exaggerated pride. So these 26 qualities described in these 3 verses are called Devi Sampat. So these qualities Lord Krishna has enumerated to give us a guide. It's a guide to those seekers who have thirst to become perfect. Okay, so if we have that kind of a thirst, look at these, write them down. Check yourself. Which quality I want to work in the next month? Then pick up another quality, then other quality. The more qualities you cultivate, you will see that the others will become very easy. They are all connected. To respect and live these 26 values of life completely is to assure ourselves of a right way of living. This is the right way of living. So now we'll see next week what are the demonic qualities too. First, he'll just give a little sample of it. Then after that, he'll go into the details also. So demonic qualities are not just to tell others you are demonic. Demonic qualities are also for our own improvement so that we don't have those qualities. Okay, so let's stop it here and we'll start next week from verse number 4. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Visheshyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.